Okay, so welcome to the deep dive.
Mm.
Today we're going to be doing something a little different. We're going to be diving deep into the career of one specific person. And I think this is really interesting because we always talk about, companies and strategies and all this stuff. But like, what about an individual? And how can
Yeah.
we learn from one specific person's career?
Yeah.
And so the person we're going to be looking at today is Nauro Rezende Jr.
Okay.
And he's a really fascinating guy. He's had a really diverse career. I mean, all sorts of different roles in companies.
Interesting.
And we're going to use his professional profile as our main source.
Oh, okay.
And the idea is to kind of just go through it and see, like, what are those key takeaways, those, like, aha moments
Yeah.
that, maybe we can apply to our own careers or our own
Yeah.
businesses.
I like.
What do you think? What stands out to you right off the bat about this guy?
Well, I mean, looking at his profile, the first thing that jumps out at me is this kind of dual identity. He's a Brazilian American marketing professional, and it seems like that bicultural lens, that's got to be a huge part of how he approaches things.
Yeah.
Right? And then on top of that, you see this really strong foundation in both advertising and technology. Even early on, he's got skills in advertising, graphic design, web development. Like, he
Wow.
was really tuned into where things were headed.
That's so interesting. I mean, you think back to early 90s, right? And the internet was just starting to
Yes.
become a thing, and he was already there, like, understanding this stuff.
Yeah.
So let's go back to the beginning of his career, right? So he starts out in 1994 in Brazil,
Okay.
and he goes from, like, art assistant to art director. Pretty
Yeah.
classic kind of progression, right?
Yeah, makes sense.
But then in 98, he makes this really interesting move. He gets into web development at a major Brazilian ISP.
Oh, wow.
Internet service provider. So this is like early days of the internet in Brazil. I mean, this is huge.
Yep.
And what's really interesting is it's not just about building websites. It's about bridging the communication gap between the graphics team and the developers.
Oh, interesting.
So he's kind of like this translator almost.
Yeah. So he's got the design sense, but he also understands the technical side.
Exactly. And I think that's such a valuable skill, even today, right? Being able to speak both those languages.
Oh, absolutely. Especially back then when everything was so new and people were still trying to figure out how to make it all work.
Totally. And, it makes me think about how important it is to be adaptable, right? Like to be able to learn new skills
yeah.
and kind of evolve with the times, because who knows what the next big thing is going to be. But if you can stay flexible and open to learning.
You're going to be in a much better position to succeed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's jump ahead a little bit to 2010. He moves to Miami, and he becomes the director of e-commerce digital and innovation projects at Surfaces Southeast.
Surfaces Southeast. Okay,
Yeah.
so we're in the tile and surfaces industry now.
Exactly. Tile and surfaces. And his title alone tells you that this company is thinking about the future.
Yeah, for sure. E-commerce digital innovation.
This is not your grandpa's tile company, right?
Right.
So there are a few things he did at Surfaces that are really worth highlighting. I mean,
Okay, all yours.
first of all, they created the first iPhone app in the tile industry.
Wow. The first.
The first, and this is like back when the iPhone was still pretty new, right? This was not a standard move.
No, not at all, especially for a company in a traditional industry like tile. I mean,
Yeah,
you don't necessarily think of them as being on the cutting edge of tech.
right. But they saw where things were going.
Right.
They understood that people were starting to use their phones for everything. And,
So what do you think was the thinking behind that? What were they hoping to achieve with that app?
well, I imagine they wanted to give people like architects and designers and even just regular homeowners instant access to product info, specs, images,
Right.
maybe even visualization tools.
Right, in their pocket.
Exactly. Like you're at a job site and you need to check something, boom, you pull out your phone. You've got it all right there.
So convenient, and it sets them apart from the competition.
Totally. And of course, there's always a risk when you're doing something new, right? Like, what if the iPhone flops? What if nobody uses the app?
Right, but they were willing to take that gamble.
And it paid off. They became known as the Innovative Tile Company.
So it's a good lesson in calculated risk-taking. I mean, you can't be afraid to try new things, but you got to do your research and
Yeah.
be smart about it.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
And then there's the product launches.
Yeah.
He spearheaded,
Mm.
like the nationwide program with Lowe's for that 100% recycled glass tile.
Oh, yeah, I read about that. The one made from reclaimed windshields. That's amazing.
Right. It's not just a tile, it's a story.
Yeah,
And it's a story that people care about, right?
Yeah.
Sustainability, recycling.
absolutely. It taps into this whole movement of conscious consumerism.
Exactly. People want to buy products that align with their values. And this tile is like the perfect example of that.
Yeah, it's like you're not just buying a tile, you're buying into a whole philosophy.
Right, and it positions Surfaces as a company that cares about more than just making money.
So it's smart.
And then there's the partnership with Crayola.
Crayola? Wait, what?
Yeah, Crayola. They created a branded glass mosaic collection with them.
That's wild. I never would have thought of that.
It's brilliant, right? I mean, Crayola is like this iconic brand that everyone knows and loves and trusts.
99% brand recognition in U.S. households.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you take that positive association and you apply it to tile, and boom, you've got something really special.
It's like instant brand credibility.
Totally. And it just shows you that you don't have to limit yourself to partnerships within your own industry. Think outside the box.
Yeah, look for those unexpected connections.
Exactly. And it makes you wonder, like, how do they even make that happen? How do you convince Crayola to partner with a tile company?
Right. What were the conversations like?
I'd love to know. And Nauro was also the point person for communications and press inquiries at Surfaces.
So he's the face of the company.
Yeah, he's out there telling their story, managing their public image. And I think that's another really valuable skill, especially as you move up in your career.
Yeah, being able to communicate effectively is so important.
Absolutely. So we're starting to see this pattern with him, right? He's embracing new technologies. He's coming up with creative partnerships. He's telling compelling stories about these products.
And he's building a reputation as someone who's not afraid to try new things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And all of that leads him to his next big move. Mosaic Companies, LLC.
Mosaic companies. Now we're talking about the big leagues.
Yeah, this is a holding group for some really big names in the industry like Walker Zanger and Opistone.
So he's gone from a single tile company to managing multiple brands.
Exactly. And his role as Senior Director of Marketing. So he's overseeing the entire marketing strategy for all these brands.
That's a huge responsibility.
It is. And the profile highlights his work on creating an integrated marketing strategy for the entire portfolio.
What does that mean exactly, integrated marketing?
So it's about aligning all the different elements of their marketing, right? So their e-commerce platforms, their CRM systems, their distribution networks. It's about creating a seamless experience for the customer.
So no matter how you interact with the brand, it's a consistent and positive experience.
Exactly. And he was even giving presentations on this topic, like the intersection of innovation and distribution strategy in B2B marketing.
So he's not just doing the work, he's sharing his knowledge with others.
Exactly. He's becoming a thought leader in the industry. And then there are the brand campaigns he led, like Anthology Tile's Season of Savings.
Oh yeah, that was a big success, wasn't it?
It was. It drove sales and engagement, and it really helped to solidify Anthology's position in the market.
And then there's the partnership with Women in Luxury Design, WILD.
Yeah, that was a really smart move. I mean, it shows that they're not just focused on selling tile, they're also committed to supporting diversity and inclusion in the industry.
And there's that quote from him about supporting women's advancement and paying tribute to trailblazers.
Yeah, it's a great quote. It shows that he's thinking about the bigger picture. It's not just about the bottom line.
It's about making a positive impact on the world.
Exactly. And again, he's out there representing Mosaic companies in the media, giving interviews, writing articles. He's really become a voice of the industry.
It's impressive how he's managed to build this platform for himself.
Yeah, it's not something that happens overnight.
Yeah.
It takes years of hard work and dedication.
And a willingness to put yourself out there.
Totally. So by this point in his career, he's really reached a new level, right? He's leading marketing for some of the biggest brands in the industry. He's speaking at conferences. He's being interviewed by the media.
Is this the top of his game?
He is. But then he does something really unexpected. He starts his own company.
Oh, wow. What kind of company?
It's called the Rebel Idea, Inc. And it's a marketing and business development agency.
Interesting. So he's taking all that experience he's gained working for big companies, and now he's applying it to help other businesses.
Exactly. And what's really cool is that he's specifically focused on helping international brands, especially Brazilian brands, establish themselves in North America.
Makes sense given his background.
Totally. And he's got this unique advantage, right? He understands both the Brazilian and the North American market, so he can really help these companies bridge that gap.
Yeah, that cross-cultural expertise is invaluable.
And the profile mentions how his agency has this reputation for being able to map opportunities and go to market with a value proposition unlike any other because of this cross-cultural understanding.
That's a powerful differentiator.
It is. And it just goes to show you that sometimes the most valuable skills you have are the ones that you don't even realize are unique.
Like your cultural background or your life experiences.
Exactly. So on top of everything else he's doing, he's also writing on Medium, sharing his thoughts on things like imposter syndrome and quiet quitting.
It's interesting that he's writing about these topics that aren't directly related to tile or marketing.
Yeah, it shows that he's a well-rounded person with a lot of different interests.
And it also shows that he's willing to be vulnerable, to share his own struggles and insights with others.
Totally. And even though he doesn't have a ton of formal awards, his work has been recognized by his peers and his clients.
Yeah, like at Mosaic, he was praised for his collaboration with creative agencies, and he helped them become Vendor of the Year for major retailers.
Exactly. And earlier in his career, his campaigns at Surfaces were recognized in trade publications. So it's clear that he's making a real impact.
Yeah, he's not just going through the motions. He's doing work that people notice and appreciate.
Exactly. So looking back at his career, it's really amazing to see how it's evolved, right? From those early days as a graphic designer and web developer to leading marketing for huge companies to starting his own agency and becoming a thought leader.
It's a really inspiring trajectory.
It is. And it all comes back to that idea of adaptability and being willing to learn and grow and embrace new challenges.
And the importance of having a global perspective, being able to connect with people from different cultures and understand different ways of doing business.
Absolutely. So the key takeaway here is that Nauro Rezende Jr. is a great example of how to build a successful and impactful career in today's world.
He's shown us that it's possible to be both creative and strategic, to be a leader and a collaborator, to be successful in the corporate world and as an entrepreneur.
And he's done it all while staying true to his values and making a positive impact on the world.
It's a powerful example for all of us.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final thought.
Yeah.
How can you apply what we've learned from Nauro's journey to your own life?
Yeah, what skills can you develop? What connections can you make? What opportunities can you seize to create your own unique and fulfilling path?
Because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, right? Finding your own way to make a difference in the world.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's it for this episode of The Deep Dive. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, everyone.